I think I will do this every time because it is good for the camaraderie.
You're good to go.
Okay. So, are we ready? Okay, so this is the January 11th meeting. I think I will do this every time. Of the Salem Public Library Advisory Board. And it is 5:38. And we're calling it to order. So, let's see if, do we have, all 8 current members here tonight? Yeah.
Some we forgot to really look like.
Yeah, right.
I found seven.
Are you saying me?
One.
No.
Oh, 3, okay.
That's
Yeah,
all I knew. So we have everyone present. And my understanding is that there last night, at the Monday night at the Salem City Council meeting, there was a approval of appointments to boards and commissions. So I assume that the person who was appointed will join us in February. And I don't know if that name was not announced at the meeting. It was more just the positions.
Yeah, it's Jackie Leung. She was a former city council member and she's going to be on our advisory board.
And she participated in the strategic planning.
She did.
meetings. And so she is that I felt that was really she should be a great addition to our group.
She was on our board before.
Yeah, okay.
She never attended a meeting.
It was in Portland, she could never get or something. Yeah, I remember that. I think I took over her position actually. Okay, so how about the next item on the agenda would be the minutes from the November. Is it November? What was the date for the November 9th meeting? And then does anyone have any corrections or additions?
There was one correction submitted and that was it was a typo to add Mel Fuller to the members present.
Okay,
And Steve.
Rosen. It's on
right. And Gretchen was excused. I think that's a correction we should put in there.
okay.
It was an excused absence. We notified us she was ill.
Move to approve as amended.
Any second for approval on that?
I'll second.
We got 3 seconds here. Who's the official seconder? Gretchen.
She used her voice.
Okay, and all in favor of approval of the minutes from November 9th as amended? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so have we received any formal public comment
No,
for tonight's meeting? No. Okay, so now our next item on the agenda would be information items, and we have,
Madam Chair, just, so do we approve the November and December, or do we just approve November?
there was no December meeting.
Did I read it wrong? Okay.
There was a
Right.
It's a December
report.
There's a December
Got it, okay.
librarian
You're right,
report.
you're right.
but not
I
the-
read it wrong. Thank you. Thank you. I mistake. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so we really welcome our team members. Considering you to be, for me, you're the gem of this. meeting. Yes, you are.
No pressure.
First, hello, my name is Lauren Kugler. I go by Chester in Salem High School. So far, decorations of the team got an interface lift in November, not a top decorating worth many. We decorated windows, put up fairy lights, made snowflakes and little flicker trees, and created a snow personality. This was great. Visitors have been adding decorated snow people ever since. So, tab members like me have been visiting regularly on Wednesday afternoons. Do some volunteering in the team area, keeping displays filled, straightening books, and a few decorated touches. So a few tab members will be participating in the 2023 Origin Conference. It's an event that brings together team leaders and library workers with a team focus to discuss outstanding books from 2022. An attempt to guess which will win the annual Michael J. Peck Award for Excellence in Rapid Literature. My name is Ryan Kurtz. I'm from West High School. And, my pronouns are she, her. Town members teamed up to create a thank you card for our community members who generously donated to the Take What We Need project. Some of you may be familiar with that. In October and November. We posted that in November. We continue to share out the supplies that were sent in and collect additional donations. Members have decided to create another video for the 92nd Newbery Awards. We have chosen the 2014 graphic novel El Depo by Susie Bell. We will also tell the story in a 90-second, more or less video. We are also working to update these awesome books. It's a recommendation list that highlights great books that we think other teens should read. This year, we decided to focus on recommendations in the categories of fantasy, LGBTQ+, social justice, and nonfiction.
Thank you so much for your work. Yeah. Very excellent work. Yeah. Right. So,
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
So, and maybe this is for you, son, where are we on the seed project thing? I think I asked you once and I forgot what the
For the funding for the students. And then
red
in the
tape.
next couple months, yeah, I think we've got some plans in place, so we just kind of need to coalesce those and get going.
That's great. It'd be great for the spring.
Yeah.
and are you all familiar with what Lois is asking about, the newer board members? The C project? Can you explain it, please?
I wasn't prepared to. So it's like a seed sharing thing. So people, I don't know how they'll organize it, but people can bring seeds and take seeds. And, for your garden, it could be vegetables or it could be flowers, as I understand it. And the teams are gonna run it.
Is this similar to Marion Polk Food Share Seed Exchange, or does it work as partner with them? Similar, okay. I think they changed, I don't know if they're still doing it like they used to, because of COVID.
Well, maybe
That's
we
great.
could, maybe we could partner.
Well, initially, we thought of having like a, the old card catalogs. Yes, but having a seed, like seed catalog. And then, but the idea first came up. How long ago was? Pre-COVID, when the idea.
When we,
Yeah.
when it-
Generated or
Generated.
terminated.
Right?
But those card catalogs are hard to find and they're expensive now.
Of course.
Right. We're a class act, right?
the storage did not have we were going to.
Yeah, we looked in several places, like in the city. I don't know, the place where they store old stuff, they would have them.
It sounds like, thank you for updating me. That's like a new project. Goodbye.
So, the chair's report is the next item on the agenda, and I'm going to defer to, bringing things up during our discussion items, rather than this formal report. The next would be the city librarian's report, which is included with the minutes and the agenda by, Teresa. And I wonder, has everyone had a chance to take a look at the November and December city librarian's report?
Now, Chair, I had a quick question.
Mhm.
Pretend. So a lot of states and local communities are kind of rethinking their TikTok policy.
Mhm.
I don't know, is that something the library is looking at? Or is there a kind of been a national position on this, or what kind of are you hearing?
So I'm not hearing anything.
Okay.
So, yeah, we just started our TikTok channel, so it's pretty much a experimental thing.
Okay.
And just seeing what other libraries do, so yeah.
Okay. Well, I know, I mean, the employer I work with, remotely, they banned TikTok for all of their employees. So, but I know that different states are doing different policies on that. I didn't know
Mhm.
if the Oregon Library Association is taking a position on this or not.
No, they have not, yeah. But that's an interesting conversation. It sounds like we're likely to be having.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe just the whole issue of the security is
Mhm.
what's
Mhm.
driving.
Does anybody have any questions? Do you want me to recap anything? We have hired 2 new supervisors, so we're very excited. They started last week, so they've been here a whole 7 days. So we have a new learning and development supervisor who will oversee the adult services and also like kind of like adult education type programs, as well as internal education programs for library staff. And then we have a new access, that's Rachel Collins, and we have a new access and acquisitions supervisor named Jen Robinson. And so she'll be overseeing all of the tech services parts of the job, but also those special collections like our library of things, our culture passes, those kind of things, and just making access easier for library materials. So we're very excited about that.
Great.
Mhm.
So I was at the Great Books or the
Oh, best books,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
And at the end, there was a gentleman that I felt like he had some kind of agenda. I don't know if anybody spoke to you about it. He wanted people to join a book club or something. And I just wondered what was the deal with that? Do you know?
I haven't heard anything, but I can check into it for you and get back to you.
He was very,
Is there a staff person at those?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, that was staff run by 3 of our staff.
Right,
So,
yeah,
and they also went to Capitol Manor and did the, so it's 60 books in 60 seconds. They book talk the best books. And then we also have you can get some brochures too at around the library that'll have all the titles in them. And it's pretty fantastic project. So,
Exciting.
and this was the first time we brought it back since COVID. So it was very exciting to have it again in the library and at Capitol Manor.
So, I don't see anyone here from the Friends. Do they submit any report?
No, report.
I know that, their staff person, Dana, died since we were last year, and I know the city acknowledged that, and sent the flowers and I do as well. Do you have any idea whether they're recruiting another?
So I'm attending the Friends meeting tomorrow. They are working on the job posting and getting it ready so that they can recruit for it. In the meantime, Carol has stepped down from her role and she's running the bookstore. And so they're just trying to get, it's a heartbreaking time for them personally, but it's also like for the bookstore, it's a hard, like trying to coordinate and figure out where they're at with Dana's system. And so, you have the grief and the complexity to deal with right now. So they're working through that. So I imagine, it'll take some time.
Okay, and how about the Friends? Any report from the Friends? I mean, from the foundation.
Hello. We had a very successful release of books
Mhm.
here at the library, which is great fun. And I suggest anybody want to have this fun, come and volunteer for those kind of activities because you meet the public. And so we gave away the books and to people that anybody came in and wanted them.
or what? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and we are going to be having, at the end of this month, we will have the show for the Salem Reads, which I don't know if you know is a competition in essence, best representing what the book is speaking about. So the artist representation of the release of this one, Born a Crime, So I'm really curious what the artists will be showing us.
And they'll be on our art hall, in our art hall displayed, yeah.
And so that will be hung, I believe it is on the 30th. And it will be up for approximately 1 month.
Excellent. Okay, so, should we introduce our?
Sure.
Would you please?
I'm Fred Wilson. I'm the city attorney, not the city assistant city attorney. And so one of my responsibilities is to work with the library advisory board. So here, if you have any legal questions, if you have any questions about how the procedure goes, we'll probably be able to answer those. I'll probably just sort of sit here quietly in the corner and let something come up. But nice to meet all.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, that might be a question that I could speak in about
Mhm.
this.
Sure.
Can I do that offline?
Yeah.
or-
Mhm.
All right, okay. All right, so, the next area of the agenda are discussion items, and, we've already covered, I think, the vacancy that we anticipate, to be a full 9-member board, next month. And then, could you discuss the strategic plan and where you're
Sure,
at?
yeah, so we're in the get moving phase. We've created teams, library staff teams that have 2 team leaders for each initiative, and then there's staff members chose kind of which initiatives they want to help create the framework for. So we had our first meeting with Coraggio for the facilitation, learning how to facilitate those meetings. It went really well. Between now and January 31st, the teams will meet with their groups. So the team leaders that are leading the initiatives will bring together a meeting with their groups to kind of initiate the process. So during that first facilitation, they were given examples of an agenda, what topics should look like, some activities to do so that they could get the ball rolling. And so when we meet on January 31st, we'll recap on how those first team meetings went, how we can support, and then we'll start getting into more of the framework structure of the actual strategic plan and the process, and what our plans are to achieve it after that.
Mhm. Okay. Anybody have any questions or about this strategic plan? Yeah, Rose?
So will they have access to all of the work that the committee did?
So part of that,
Very good.
yeah, so part of that first facilitation meeting was going through the slides that led up to the initiatives. And then we also put out that that initial report that everybody got, that we got from Coraggio. We gave that to all of the team members, and that was one of their assignments to read through that. So when they meet as a team, they'll be kind of well versed on what our process was, and that stuff is still on the website for anybody who's interested in looking at it.
All of the suggestions and all that.
Yep.
Will that stay up? I would encourage that to stay up.
Yeah, we
For
don't
a
have
long
any,
time.
we don't have any plans to take it down
Good.
at this point. And I think as we achieve things, we'll want to put those achievements up
Mhm.
there too. Like, this is our initiative. This is what we've achieved so far. So that'll be a kind of an ongoing living space on the website.
Okay. So, yeah,
Just, and I probably should have brought this up earlier. So it's sort of related, but not really. And so it's maybe a question for our legal team as well. There were some issues when the bond was passed regarding, there were some questions about the language on the bond.
Mhm.
Do you all have any updates on that? Is
So that has been okayed, and it's okay to go through. The
Oh.
bond has been approved
Okay.
with the language has been okayed, I guess. I don't know the exact legal terms, but
It got resolved?
it got resolved.
Okay, okay. So they're moving forward.
Yes.
yeah, actually, it was on January 4th. And it was Marion County Circuit Court Judge Abar, I don't know if that's how he pronounces his name. Or she, I don't know. Ruled the city can begin to sell the bonds to fund the voter approved ballot measure. the issue was a statutorily required line that was not on the printed ballot, but was in the voters pamphlet. And that's what brought this question to the court. And as you might know, the ballot measure contains a $7.5 million amount for the city to acquire 2 properties for affordable housing and co-siting 2 branch libraries. What I read, it didn't specify the location of those 2 libraries in the bond measure, but we have advocated for Northeast and far Southeast Salem. So that $7.5 million phase, my understanding is that money doesn't come in till after the 5-year strategic plan ends.
Right,
So
so
in terms of,
Mhm.
it's not gonna be $300 million or just plop down.
Right,
Out of the sky. So I think that, all the efforts that your team is doing to give so many programs here at the library and to the outreach and the like, so many times I come here and there's free parking today, it isn't even the 3 hours that makes it so accessible for the public. And I really want to say how critical that is, because it's going to be a while till we have more actual places that can be identified as
Yeah.
libraries.
So just as a follow-up to that, can any of the bond money be used for operation maintenance? In other words, for just library staff, or is it all for the facilities?
my understanding is it's all facility, it can't be for library staff, it's not for those kind of
So
operational.
obviously that maybe the next issue, obviously.
Yes.
is To figure out staffing for that.
Right. Mhm.
And then the second question is, the process that you're going to go through in terms of determining locations. I know that Prince talked about, there's been some already preliminary discussions about that, but are you formally gonna reach out to the community, or what's the process?
So it's gonna be a variety of things. We're gonna look at what is out there, I think largely we're gonna rely on partnerships
Okay.
with other community members, and I think that we're gonna look at for mutually beneficial opportunities, and that way we can do the most for the people that need it in the places where they need it. So that's what we're looking at right now. So there's, people are smart in this community, so there's always some opportunities going up that are being considered. So we'll look at those opportunities and see if they're possible and see if they make sense.
So are you looking to buy space with the bond money, or are you looking at leasing, or is it kind of up in the air?
I couldn't really say at this point because it's not gonna be just the library, it's gonna also be housing, it's also could be other
So
things,
multiple-
yeah,
multiple
so,
those. Okay.
yeah, it's not just one type of building, right? And I don't know how housing works, so I can't really say.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Lois,
Thank you.
Lois.
I'm trying to be very parliamentary. Well, in the past, it's been very important on the things that we want to have happen, like language in the whatever that was called, My Salem or whatever it was, and the 3 hours of free parking and the other things that we've influenced to be proactive rather than reactive. Instead of the council coming out and saying, the library branches are going to be here and here. I think it's important that we're in the room when they're talking about where the branches are as somebody from the board. So that's what we've done in the past. And so I've talked to you about this, Francine, but I maybe we can make a action item that we have a real good relationship with the mayor. And I think if we met with him, I think, and said that's actually one of our duties in our
Right.
in our bylaws, is that we have a say in the location, that we would like to be on any kind of, you know, one of us be on any kind of committee that is forming about the bond.
Right.
I mean, does that seem,
Yeah,
does that
and
make
we've had a
sense?
number of conversations in the past about possibilities for locations. When I went down to Eugene, for example, how long ago was that? And looked at what they have in terms of literally storefront branches in malls and there's an old bank
Mhm.
that they turned over.
I will say there are some examples of libraries with housing, mixed use housing on top, and so it might be beneficial if you're interested in that, how those work, to look at those libraries. Cornelius Library is one of those, I believe. And if you do a Google search, you can find them too. And then also there's a gentleman on the foundation whose class actually created a presentation around mixed use library potential, and I could probably find that presentation and get it to you if he has it still. His students did it. It's David.
Betterment.
Yeah,
Betterment.
his students did a presentation on that. Yeah, so Gretchen, you could do that.
But the thing is, I mean, we need to be there
Right.
before, you know, we can have all these
The mon-
thoughts,
the
but
money-
if somebody isn't there
Yeah.
saying to the city council, like, this is, you know, we're the library advisory board, and this is kind of what we're thinking, and, you know, from talking to people and different things, then there, otherwise it's after the fact, like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like we hear, oh, they're gonna do it here and here, and then we have to, you know, go
So we
back.
need to, yeah, I can see that we need to discuss who are gonna be the decision makers, with make sure that they understand what our input is then. And our strategic plan includes that and the supporting information to share with them, even at this point, even though it isn't gonna start. The
Exactly.
money's not gonna be available till 5 years from after 5 years. However, it's not like the planning for that will be going on
Yeah,
concurrently.
Well,
So, okay.
Would you like a motion that requests of city council that we,
Are you ready to make one, please?
I will make one if you
Like
guys are
it.
okay.
Yeah.
But we make a motion that we ask the city council that we have representation on the planning process for the new mixed use libraries, branch libraries.
Give a second.
could I amend that?
Yeah.
Just because it's hard to get the whole city council to do anything, like if we talk to the mayor first and said, what do you, I mean,
What opportunities?
he does the committees and things like that.
So also, like, things are in the works, you know, this isn't, I mean, we are like creating plans, so if you have some thoughts, if you want to give them to me, then I can communicate those along the process too, because, you know, we don't know when opportunities will come along, they may come along faster than 10 years down the line, and so, you know, if I know what you're thinking about, I can communicate that out, and I think that's probably a good way to go. Because definitely the library is going to be involved in the process, and I can bring information, we can information share together, right?
So am I correct in my reading that the bond measure specified that it would be co-situated?
That's the intention.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
But that could mean just about anything, depending on
With
what,
affordable housing,
and what
with
other,
building affordable housing.
exactly, and what other parts of the community go into those spaces.
Well, I would say, just to follow up to Lois's amendment, I'm okay with that. I mean, I think we can broadly say that we'd like the city council support, with the understanding that, you know, it starts with the mayor, and we can, as as Kim pointed out, we can kind of also use her as a conduit to express our interests. But I think it's important now as a body to say, yes, we want to be at the table. We want to be involved with, we know it's a long process, but we need to be at the table. And was there a second?
We said there's some discussion.
The only, and I would, the only
So the
other
amendment-
amendment that I would add, if the board is okay with that, is I also think should be a role for Friends and the foundation in that discussion too. Obviously, they provide some resources. And I think they have a perspective that y'all are comfortable. And
That is the point.
So what's the actual motion?
the actual motion is to ask, is to relay to city council our interest in being involved in the planning process with the new branch libraries.
So like a letter in support, kind of.
Either, yeah, letter of support or just
Okay.
relates and understanding that we, we go through staff. as well.
I think
Is that,
strong needs to be stronger than just a letter of support.
We need to talk to somebody.
okay,
Yeah,
so what
yeah.
do you, okay, that we direct, well, or that we ask to speak directly to city council and the mayor about our interest in being involved in the planning process.
Well, and we are all live in different, well, maybe we don't all live in all the wards, but we do, each of us have a counselor who is,
Mhm.
so that, I think that in addition to approaching the mayor, I think that, I think if the mayor has been, before he was mayor, has been very on board with our, what we have thought was the point, the parking issue, for example. And I think, given that he himself is from Northeast Salem, he understands that that part of the city has need for additional services. So I would prefer to think about it more like approaching the mayor, letting him know what our priorities are, and as individuals, making sure that your own counselor is aware of your being on the lab and that the things that the lab is in favor of.
And I guess my only issue is, and it may be a matter of semantics. I just want the mayor and the city council know, we want to see at the table. And however that, whether we go through staff or whether we contact, individual members of council or the mayor, we just want to sit at the table that, that's our role as an advisory board, is to provide that, technical expertise to the city council and to the mayor. So that, however we want to word that.
But I guess my confusion is, what part of the planning process do you want to be involved in? Are you talking like the design of the building? Are you talking where you purchase the building? Are you talking about how it works with urban development and how those funds come? I mean, I don't know that. What part of the planning do you want to be involved in?
Well, I would assume, like with the library renovation, there is some kind of committee
Mhm.
that is being put together with community partners and things that to plan about the bond. And so what I'm thinking is, if there is a committee like that, one of us should be on it. And that's what we did with the renovation. There was a renovation subcommittee of the city council, and Lab was involved with that. And so, yeah, we sat through.
So I,
Did
Okay.
the architect,
Mhm. Yeah.
we picked the architect, we picked the design team. We came and looked at things that were going up, and
So what I'm kind of getting from this is that possibly the next step would be for meeting with the mayor and asking the mayor where they
there you
think
go.
we should be positioned to have an effective input on the part of the planning that we have the expertise and the obligation to really address.
Yeah.
Whereas there are many parts of it that we have no expertise in. So like balancing your checkbook, et cetera.
Kind of wall.
Right, yeah, exactly. So would you feel comfortable with that?
I'm happy to withdraw my motion.
Right.
if you
No, I
wanna-
think that,
No, I mean, and resubmit what you want,
Right.
that's fine. too.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that would give kind of get the direction from Mayor Toy regarding where his assessment of our position would be ideal, and then he'll be likely the one making the decision.
and it's
To meet with you and the mayor.
I think you're, I mean, it seems like
Yeah.
your motion actually would work, because it says we're gonna relay our message to the governor, to the mayor and the city council, and so then we can start with the mayor, and then he or they or whoever they want can go to the city council. And also I was gonna say, I mean, working through the library is okay, but we're not the library. We are the, as I see it, we are the library advisory board, and we are the community. I think we're like the community's board, that we're not part of the staff.
Mhm.
And that's why our role, that's why we have bylaws that say, you know, when you're picking a location, the library advisory board.
Or
They're
We'll
part
be
of that.
advising the city council in that.
Yeah,
Is exactly what it says, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
our bylaws, just by the way, are very outdated, but I'm not
I
disagreeing
know
with that,
they're
but
under review, I've
Mhm.
understood
Yeah.
by the legal team, because I've asked for an updated, one of these toolkits.
So for clarification for the notes.
Yeah.
Out of everything that was said, I think the motion is the motion to appoint like a liaison to meet with Kim and the mayor for like, for a future meeting regarding like the future of the future libraries that should be built. Is that what the motion is?
I think people from the library board meet with the mayor.
Okay.
All members, Lois? I wouldn't
Well,
think so.
maybe-
I mean, that feels like people.
As, I mean, as available. Yeah, those that
Yeah.
are as available.
Okay.
Should we identify who those people should be? I mean, well, and I think Lois, you have, and Dave, maybe the three of us.
I'd be
Yeah.
happy to do it.
Yeah, so with your involvement in the subcommittee for the, the
Yeah.
redesign, you have that connection with him, and I have the connection with him around the parking issue. Okay, great. So are we good?
Is there a
Yeah.
second?
Will you suffer through this? Yeah.
Should we have,
Didn't you second it?
I did.
Okay.
do we need a
Withdraw.
formal vote? Do we want to do it? Just a formal?
You think we have to?
Yes.
Do this?
Is it on?
Motion, yeah.
It's a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
So on your motion?
Yeah.
Okay, can you want to restate it or? for a second?
Okay,
Right.
so the motion is allowed to appoint several liaisons to meet with the mayor regarding the discussion of the future libraries that are being built, I believe. And it's gonna be Lois, Francine, and David.
I would just say, and that's fine. I would say that, depending on how that goes, I still think we should
Yes.
at some point have a formal motion that says we want to sit at the table, and that can be defined in however we want to define it, but I think Louis clearly stated what kind of our role is, and our role is as a voice for the community. And that's why we're appointed here, is to give that perspective. And so, somewhere down the road, I think, after we're meeting with the mayor, we may have a better idea what that looks like, but I still think down the road, we should still have that formal.
What is going to be the process of the rest of the board members, getting ideas to the liaison group? Like, I have some ideas about location.
Oh. okay.
How does that look?
Well, we have to be careful about the,
Right.
because the attorney's here. I think what we would do is send an email to him and Carissa about your idea, and then they could send it out to the rest of the board.
Or else I could
indicate right now.
Oh, yeah.
Near family building blocks. I've been a nurse practitioner and you have a lot of experience working with underserved communities. Also, but near family building blocks. The DHS is there, that's in the North Salem area up by, Big Lots, I think, and Ross, and Once Upon a Child. A number of services exist there. And that's a beautiful hub. As is Lancaster Mall.
Oh, yeah, something.
Yes.
Same.
For thinking about that in more detail. All right, so, lab funds, do you want to talk about?
I
Yeah.
think we should probably have a vote.
We should have a.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Any opposed? There it goes.
Right.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
So lab funds, so one of the things that Francine and I have been talking about, and I know I talked to Lois about this a while ago, is to kind of. There's money that the lab has through the result of donations over the years and it's collected and we're not collecting any more money anymore, but we still have this money out there and. We provide resources to the community, Friends provides resources to the community, Foundation provides resources to the community. It would be nice for us, I think, to kind of identify what are our priorities that we would like to see, what projects would we like to see? How much money do we want to provide? Is there a process that we want the community to be aware of? Are the priorities that we have, are they in conflict with what the Friends or the Foundation are doing? How can we kind of partner up on some things? And so in those discussions, I thought it would be good is if we had a couple of board members or as many board members as you would like to kind of sit down and kind of help us kind of identify some kind of priorities, annual priorities or just general priorities that we want and maybe do that as a application, if you would, and whether we put it on the website or however we want to do that, that we could make it available to the public so the public is aware that these resources are available. These are our priorities for FY23. They may change annually, but just some ideas to consider and wanted to kind of raise that with the board and get your feedback.
Are you thinking of library things that you're spending the money on or outside community projects? I mean, it's up to the lab. It's
up to lab. I mean, I assume it's library projects, but it could be projects that are library related.
We do, I mean, if it's helpful, we do have a list of things that we would like, right? That fall outside of outside of Friends and a Foundation. So I can provide.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean,
Mhm.
that's been my experience with different groups when before is that the library would give a list of priorities. There was this amount of money available. These are projects that aren't funded through traditional means that would be helpful. And I think that's a good way to promote what the lab does too, because they'll can see that these are the things that we're doing. So yeah, that's a great way to start.
Yeah, I mean, I can throw one out there. I'm meeting with a vendor to look at digital culture passes like Clackamas libraries have Link have, and also Multnomah County has. So you go online instead of coming in and checking out those cultural passes, you get them digitally through your library card. And that is an ongoing expense that would happen yearly. I'm gonna meet with the vendor and see how much they are and just look into it and see if that's something we could provide here. And the benefit of that is we'd be able to provide more cultural passes than we're providing now and a greater number. So.
And is that something that the foundation would not
It, it's the foundation is enhancements, so they're not gonna, that's like that could be an ongoing expense. So, that would be something different than that they would do.
So just to identify, so foundation, my sense is like enhancements to the building.
Enhancements to the buildings, to programs, just not operational costs, right? Like they're not gonna, commit to spending a certain amount of money each year on a certain collection, that
Okay,
kind
so
of
it's not
thing.
ongoing expenses, it's kind of
Mhm.
one-time. cost.
Yeah,
That kind,
generally.
and then Friends, how did that?
Mhm. So Friends support certain collections, so they do our Lucky Day collection. Then they also give some money to programming, to adult and youth programming, and that's most of where that money comes from.
So really, so where our funds could be a benefit are those projects that fall outside of those two things.
Mhm.
Okay.
So it'd be great if we became aware of.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, anyway, I want to throw this idea, we're happy to take a look at that. If you would like a formal thing, once you meet with the vendor.
Yeah, I
What
can
was it?
also, like, we have the no card, no problem. That could be something that you annually fund. We we want to sell our bookmobile because it requires a CDL to drive it and get a new bookmobile. That would be a pretty spendy cost. I don't know if you have enough money, but that's like our pipe dream, right? But, so we have some things like that we'd be,
So I guess the question is, are there any interest on the part of the board to kind of sit down and take a look at it, helping develop some priorities or procedures around the use of the money?
We did adopt guidelines for use of lab funds on June 10th, 2020.
Oh, great.
Number one, the board will give priority to fund projects that promote and align with the Salem Library Strategic Plan goals. Number two, the board will give priority to projects of our library partner organizations, the Salem Public Library Foundation and the Friends of the Salem Library. So we usually give to the Salem Reads. Number three, the board will seek to use lab funds for innovative and expansive programs at the Salem Public Library. So you could start, everybody should probably have a copy of this.
I don't, so if you've got it, you can. is that-
we can get a
Probably have
copy
it
of
somewhere.
that. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be a great start, that'd be a
Maybe
great
we
starting
could
point.
update this or add to it or
It's
something.
from 2020. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be
Yes.
nice to do that annually.
COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
it'd be nice to do it annually, because priorities change.
yeah,
So-
yeah.
I mean, to me, the priority should be whatever the library needs, that, that's the priority. Secondarily, it may be projects that are library related.
And now we have the strategic plan. We have a strategic plan. So number one would be, promote and
Consistent
align
with,
with that.
yeah.
So.
So Mel, you're interested?
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else interested? Okay, that's really great, okay. And Lois too? Did you say yes or no?
I could say.
Okay. Well, if you could,
Slides under the
if you
table.
could send me the 2020 or get it to all of us, and then we can, let's maybe set up a meeting for this month and kind of start looking at it. And maybe, at least for next month, maybe kind of come up with some ideas for our priorities for the year.
And would you include Kim in that discussion?
Absolutely.
Yeah. of course.
And yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want me to come up with
Yeah.
some project, I
You
got it.
I got a deal for you.
Maybe we could get an update at our next meeting of what do we have?
Yeah.
$100,000.
Yeah.
I can see if we can get an update. Yes.
Can you give us like an update of what's available and maybe the last 2 years of projects that have been funded?
We probably can do that. We can run.
By that,
by lab, just to give us, us an idea for the new people, just kind of what are some of the things that you guys funded in the past?
Right.
And of course, Lois probably has a list of it, but,
I'll give you the whole budget thing.
no,
Glad
but,
to get rid of it.
no, I'm just, but it would help us, I think, in terms of kind of identifying kind of a theme.
Okay. All right, so the bond update, I think we took care of that. The Willamette Heritage Project. So back in, okay, so I'm gonna kind of read this for you. So that, especially for the newer members, kind of understand, I even had to review all this, even though I was there for the. Okay. So in the year 2000, the library and the city of Salem established a web-based collection of materials with this texts and images from a grant. After 5 years later, there was no additional funding available for updating that collection, and it kind of, the technology changed and became difficult to access, etc. And in 2020, the project was taken down and not available to people to access on the Salem Public Library website. So then the idea of the Salem Online History 2.0 project, because it's like the second one, iteration. It's the name given to an update of this collection, which is being done by the Willamette Heritage Center. And it's assisted by library staff to enabling them to access and transfer the original materials for them to use. Once they use it, the updating and whatever they do, they own, but we, the library and the city still own the original materials that ownership maintains with us. April 14th of 2021, I don't know what this is about. The Willamette Heritage Foundation, Kylie Pyle, we need to have another. Here. And Kimberly Fitzgerald, who's the city's historic preservation officer, they presented a proposal to us and about what they were going to do, and asked us to contribute $10,000 as a matching funds for an anonymous donor who was giving $10,000, which we participated in. Part of that was that we were supposed to be getting 6 monthly updates. I don't know that that has happened, but we will be having Kylie Pyle remotely at our meeting next month. She will be updating us on the status of the Online History Project 2.0 project. And it was very important to me when I voted in favor of this, that the information that the Willamette Heritage Foundation accumulated be accessible through the Salem Public Library website. And I don't see anything that's yet done in that regard. So that will be something I will be interested in hearing from her. So if any of you are interested in the original presentation that she made to the lab, it is available on YouTube, like just like our previous meetings are. And it was specifically at the April 14th, 2021 meeting that we had. So I just kind of wanted to give you that background so that next time when this person comes, she may explain it all over again. I don't know. She probably will, but you know, think about what questions you might have too between now and then. And if you want to familiarize yourself with more of the background, you could watch the YouTube from that meeting back in 2 years ago. It's April 14th of 2021, and I actually have the specific, like what minute it starts and ends. If anyone is that interested, you could send me an email and I'll answer like, okay, it's at like 15:40 or so minutes, you know, so you're not watching the whole thing. The whole.
And is this the salemhistory.net? Are you talking accessing online?
Yes.
We should have a link to it on our website.
I was not able to find it.
Now that I don't doubt, but we are working on getting our website a little bit easier to use. I mean, we just, like the city, we switched over to a different platform and we've had some broken links and stuff
You
like
know, I
that.
think the net one though is
Mhm.
it's a different set of things than what
Okay.
they're doing.
Okay,
Yeah, it is. There's like 5 things that, yeah, no, it
Okay.
is different.
okay.
So Kylie has been updating, the lab for the last, every 6 months since it started. And sometimes I put it in my report and sometimes I didn't, so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my fault and I apologize, because for like. I want to say like 18 months, they didn't do anything because the attorneys for the city and the attorneys for the Willamette Heritage Center could not get on the same page. And so I didn't want to just keep, putting that in like, well, we haven't gotten anywhere.
Right.
Because they really didn't.
Yeah.
And I think just recently they made it okay that both of them can do what you say.
They've come up
share,
with
but-
there's a document that she forwarded to me that I read. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's their, I don't know, memorandum of understanding or their contract or whatever. Now, Chris
Take it
Rombauer
forever.
is listed as the staff person that in that document, but he
He,
doesn't work. He's gone.
right,
Yeah,
he
so-
was
so
the one that.
I was gonna
um,
ask that next time, but I could ask it today, who is good identified to work with, them.
As far as that project goes.
Yeah.
I think Kimberly Fitzgerald is the person that's working with Willamette Heritage at this point.
Okay.
Mhm. So they're working on getting the Ben Maxwell collection all situated, digitizing, going through the digital collection and making sure it matches or if there's prints that aren't in the digital collection, that's all part of that historical component that they're working on. And they'd have more information about that.
Mr. Wilson, do you know anything like, are we set to go with, Willamette Heritage Center?
I believe it's in the works. There's been some progress made. I don't think it's been finished yet,
Oh,
but I think we're getting closer.
okay. And Kylie has also sent me the money that they have spent.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They hired a Willamette student to in return. Where is they?
Okay, great.
I apologize that I didn't forward that out.
So, any more comments about that? So, the Dolly Parton Imagination Library update. First of all, I want to thank Denise for bringing this whole, discussion to us. I see that, in your lobby, you now have these cards.
Mhm.
So they don't specify that, Salem, there's only one zip code in Salem that is eligible, but if parents were to get this card and then try to sign up on the website, they would see that the zip code, there's that zip code restriction of 97301 zip code. So it's interesting that this is an international program. They're United States, UK, Australia, and the Republic of Ireland and Canada. And in the US, 10% of children are signed up. In Oregon, there are 56 Dolly Parton Imagination libraries. Many of them are in small towns, which no longer have libraries. They either closed or they're staffed a small number of hours with volunteers. Interestingly, the only large city that is signed up is Eugene. Multnomah County has a women's, seems like more like, I don't know, like a shelter or a small like isolated group that connected to their services, that they are one of the participants in the Imagination Library. And I saw nothing from the Washington County Cooperative Library System. So I heard there was a lot of in a city council meeting, there was a lot of discussion of this. It was brought up by Jim Shefke, and then several counselors actually last summer participated in signing up children at various community events. And the mayor kind of instructed, I guess would be the word, that the library staff and city staff to work with, to kind of look into opportunities for expanding it. So my understanding is that there's going to be a request to the Oregon legislature for monies that will, that if those monies were allocated, it would enable the state to be participating in this program. Let's see, it would be matching funds, $1 million matching funds available to sign up all children for it. Jim Shefke was asked what the cost would be if all Salem children 0 to 5 were signed up in the program, and he stated that it would be $450,000 for 5 years of services to all the estimated children that would be in that age group. 700 children in the Falls City, Independence, and Kaiser, and our zip code, and I think one other place are enrolled currently. Actually, 300 of the 700 are from Kaiser, and in that 97303 zip code. What I saw was enthusiasm on the counselor's part for this program, as it was discussed by Jim Shefke, and the opportunities for children. So it'll be something that you brought to us as an item, and I think that without your advocacy, or at least expressing getting our interest in it, that we probably wouldn't be as well advised about it as we are. And thank you for that. And well, I guess we'll just see what happens with I can understand that we are a city that has, or the library is a place that has an obligation to everybody. And I totally understand, even though it may be the 97301, the area with the lowest high school graduation rates, the highest poverty, that there are needy children throughout the city. And for equity issues, I can understand why the library isn't really in a position to necessarily everybody that comes in the door.
Yeah, so we are we have been working with the Marion Polk Hub, Early Literacy Hub, and a lot of it was we didn't have some of those materials, so we do have some of those materials now, and I can tell you how we are promoting it. So we did send out an email blast with the ability to sign up and letting people know what zip codes are. They added
17. They added 317.
Yeah. So and we have they just brought us those bookmarks and other materials so that we can post those around the library. And then on our story times, we have we do story times, and we have a slide that has the songs, and then it moves to a different slide. And so we have the last slide is we're putting together the slide that has the information about the Dolly Parton library. So we're giving the information out to people. They have the ability to sign up through QR codes, which is what we're finding most people do. We don't have the physical forms yet, but we're working with the hub. But what we're finding is generally they're not seeing, after talking to the women and the people in charge of this kind of initiative through the Early Learning Hub, they're not really seeing so much in places like libraries that people are signing up with forms. It's more if you're doing an outreach or if you're at a Head Start and that kind of thing. So for us, I think we're doing what we can to promote it the way we can in the library, and we'll just continue to promote it as best we can, so. I know, right? We are also gonna include it in, we give out a new book, new baby book information and books in the hospital, so we'll put information in there too. So,
to the
yeah.
visitors that,
Mhm,
the
mhm.
visitors that go to the
Mhm.
nursery, yeah.
I think that's really, I think that's really great, and I feel. I did watch the segment that you suggested that we watch.
Great, thank
And I
you.
thought, I felt like the gentleman that presented it. I felt like he did a disservice to the library because it made it sound like the library was not supportive, and why wouldn't a library be supportive of people signing up to get books? And that was hard for me to watch because that's not the case. It's just that you're promoting it, but it's hard.
Well, later on in the-
97301 thing, right?
Yeah.
Or-
Later on in the meeting, I had an opportunity to respond. The mayor asked me to respond to the comments, so I did get to say those things, but thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Lois.
For sure, okay. So, so there's one other thing that, the counselor at the most recent, city council meeting, Counselor, Stapleton, who is actually the chair of the council, was going to bring to the next meeting, Vision Zero, which is something that cities are doing to make it so there will be no vehicular deaths in the city. And it started me thinking about how we had discussed about chariots no longer coming into those, and how dangerous it is to cross Commercial and Liberty. And I am going to, if she brings this up at the next meeting, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to say that we have concern about this, that we've discussed it, and that, so I just want you all to know that. And I think it's in line with, which right in line with what she was saying, pedestrian car accidents. There were 17 in this last year. And she passionate about it.
Francis, what's the history? Why did they stop coming?
Well, the library was closed during the renovation, of course. So that would be what I would think was the reason for them stopping.
Is it the hub that was, the stop that was removed, or are we talking about a different? The stop that was removed on this side is because it was so dangerous for the bus to
Coming
cross
out.
over. So they turn and they have to, and it's really tricky, right? Because of the speed of, I don't know if you've driven down this road before, but people are going fast.
Yeah, but then the people are the ones that
Right,
crossing
then it's
rather than the
instead of
bus.
I mean, we have a bus stop. It was a cover. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We have a bus stop. It was a covered bus stop. I used to sit and read and there were lots of people that used that bus stop. Because you just get off and then you come in.
Yeah.
And now it's across the street, across 4 lanes of traffic. People are going really fast. And on the other side, we had a bus stop too, and now it's down the street. So if pedestrians are precious, which they are, maybe the bus people need to do something different, like where their next bus stop is down here. Instead, so they don't have to cross 4 lanes, like maybe put it up, before, cross 4 lanes before they get to the next bus stop. Make that bus stop,
Let's let
like
them,
1 block less or more, and then they have more time to cross over. But, I mean, Francine said it right, I mean, a pedestrian, being hit by a car is not gonna win, but a bus has, a better chance.
It's all physics.
I do get really fast going up, I
And
wouldn't
that
wanna
might
do it.
be part of Vision Zero, to really
Exactly.
bring down the traffic speed
There
by
you go.
measures in the road, like whatever.
But if they haven't been here since, the building was closed, I mean, have we reached out to, and what has their comments been?
I have a copy of the letter they wrote to me and, I'll send that out to, or no, I'll send it. It should be in the,
What did they say?
they said,
Thanks for nothing.
that it was hard for the bus drivers. So, I mean, that's your job, sorry. And that there wasn't a lot of usage. Well, it's been closed for 3 years.
Right.
For heaven's sakes, of course, there's not been a lot of usage. And then something about on this side, you get off and then you have to cross the lane or something, and that was what is that?
ADA.
ADA, if that was not consistent with ADA. Well, I can kind of understand that, but this one, that is not, on this side, that's not the case. So I wrote to the head of Salem Chariots, and then he referred it to whoever decides how they do all that stuff. So I got it. Copy of that. And then I just ran out of steam. And I didn't
Yeah,
do
right.
anything else. It's like,
Well, Counselor Stapleton did mention chariots.
Mhm.
So in this, when she said, this is something I'm gonna be bringing forward at the next meeting. So, and she mentioned, not specifically this issue, but chariots as, in terms of looking at pedestrian safety.
does anybody live in her district?
What is her district?
Oh, it's
She's at Ward
kind of
one.
like Inglewood.
Ward one.
Have you gotten any requests from the public about the bus stop? Or complaints?
I have not that we haven't, no.
I just
Oh,
want to make sure that I
chariots.
understand. I just want to make sure I understand because I'm new to the board.
Sure.
There, prior to the library closing down for the renovation, there was a bus stop, a covered bus stop on this side of the library street off of Commercial.
Yeah.
And, so when the library closed, that bus stop was removed. And now the library is back open and they're not willing to put it back. Or not, maybe not willing, maybe they just haven't yet, but the bus stop did not reopen with the library. Is that right?
Right, but they also did not have plans to reopen it because of these issues of the ADA here and then here on this side with the bus drivers having to go come back into the stream of traffic with 4 lanes going by.
Thank you. Make sure I understood that issue.
Yeah, she is Ward one. I don't know, it's
Just like
in
Grant,
Ward one.
Inglewood,
Yeah.
downtown. That's
And-
probably,
That's yours.
no, I'm, Jose is mine.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
Gonzalez.
yeah, there's a weird
Oh,
there's
it's
a,
funny how, yeah.
yeah, there's like 3 wards that all come together
Mm-hmm.
at the boundary and we're like, just kind of on the cusp of what we have, but we're technically. Jose.
Francine, I would be interested in advocating that issue with you. Okay, with you.
Yes. Well, we'll look at if it does go on the agenda for the next meeting. She said she was going to put it on and she's the chair, so we'll see it.
And isn't it's starting pretty soon where children will read free?
They are, it's already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's even more of an accessibility issue for kids. Good.
and we talked about do we talk about this here about, bus passes for people? So like, I think what I'm gonna mention to her is, when she's communicating with Chariots, that it would be great if when kids sign up for like the summer reading club, if their families need public transportation to get here, that we have those bus passes available to give out.
Yeah, so you're talking about, I think we mentioned like for the adults, yeah.
Right.
Right.
That, I don't remember.
Because the
who
kids,
talked about
yeah,
that.
I don't remember either, but that rings a bell for me.
It
so.
does.
Talk about it, but I think that would have to come from Chariots. They would have to, they
Mhm.
would have to, it would be a great,
Provide that.
cooperation kind of thing.
We might want to consider, and it may add some more, to, the proposal for the city council, is just write a letter to Chariot asking them to reconsider. And CC the council member and just say that this is a concern, and maybe we as a compromise would consider if they would want to do it seasonally, particularly in the summer when there are a lot more kids coming in, maybe just do it, have that bus stop just available between, May and September potentially.
From a risk standpoint, that's not good. It needs to be
Yes,
consistent.
yeah.
I agree.
I'm also considering disabled people.
Yes.
Yeah, it's,
You know, that's really.
the ones that are on the bus.
Well, and I addressed that with them and I said, that would be really hard to go on a wheelchair all that way across those things. And there is a program that he said
Mhm.
people can call up.
Oh,
yeah.
and-
Yeah.
But now I have several friends that are alter able and they said that that's not real reliable. Because
It's actually not how it works.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to schedule and then to, and they rarely show up. I mean, I shouldn't say, really. A lot of times they don't show up on time. And if you have a doctor's appointment, oftentimes you have to get rescheduled and.
Yeah.
Seniors use it a lot.
They can be an hour late.
One of my patients was using that
Mhm.
and they wouldn't allow the sibling to come on the ride because the sibling wasn't signed up. I mean, there's like these rules that are unreal. To like certify the sibling. Yeah. So was the parent supposed to leave the 2-year-old home? You can't take the 4-year-old to the doctor and. Right, well, what's the food that's I love you all, thank you for being here. Thank you, Apple.
So is there a motion to adjourn?
Well, I had a quick question.
Is that?
Is that-
This is just for the, I guess, miscellaneous board items. It's actually a question that came from my kids. How come are there drop boxes throughout town for library books, or do you have to bring them to a branch?
You have to bring them to a branch, but that is something that we will be, one of the things we'd love to do, right? But
Yeah.
with drop boxes comes, you need people to pick them up, right?
Right.
Which means you need a courier.
Yeah.
Type of system, but all of those things are things like that, would be great.
Because when the library was closed for renovation and the library had a temporary spot off of Broadway, it was great. Books there.
Yeah. Another city like West Lynn has drop boxes in the city, different places in the city.
Lincoln City
Mhm.
has drop boxes
Nice.
spread throughout different parts of the county, so.
Now that is also in pickup for people who have picked up, who checked out books.
No,
So
it's
No,
just a drop
it's-
off.
But we're looking at those library lockers. The lockers we have right now are defective, so we're gonna have to get a whole new set. It looks like.
What is the locker?
So you can pick up your holds anytime. So if you put your hold on, you just have them sent to, instead of a location, it'll be a library locker. And then you can like come on 12 o'clock at night. You shouldn't probably do that, but you could come and pick them up after hours anytime.
That's great, because I use the whole system all the
Mhm.
time, and I'll be like, I have the library hours like on a roll. sticky on my
Mhm.
desk,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
If I don't go get them.
So we have a mini 17 library locker that we're looking for a place in the city. We have the funds to purchase it, but we don't have a place to put it. So if you know any place that might be interested in putting a 17, I asked, they're not interested.
What?
So
I'm not interested.
they don't have the space.
Are you, I mean, this could be outside, right?
It can be, so these are outside and what they were defective, and so that's why we're having like a longer time getting them started. We got the whole system down. Staff has been like brilliant in creating this workflow system for these library lockers, but unfortunately, because of many, many things in the world, these are not working the way they should be. So we're gonna get new lockers and get these replaced. But we also, when we got when our anticipation of buying these lockers, we were going to get a large system for this library and a smaller system for West Salem, but because of fear of vandalism, we don't own that building, so they would prefer us not to put library lockers there. So,
Was Croc Center considered?
you know, we have reached out to different people, but I can reach out
Or
to
the
them
Y?
again. The Y, yes, we have like reached out. So, you know, it's just a matter of like trying to get, I think once we got them up and running, people would see how fabulous they are. And then they'd say, oh yeah, I want one here too. But, you know, it's a matter of like, I think conceptually it's hard to understand why would you want that, right? Maybe not for you because you use the library. Yes.
Where have you already considered and how many do you have place?
How many do we have in place? Oh,
Place.
2. So we just have the other one to place, that 17
Okay.
smaller set, but that's our pilot program. These are our pilot programs. And if these are successful, you know, this is another stepping stone to getting branches in places, is getting, you know, these lockers potentially in places.
What about a high school? Have you tried, like the
So
school board?
So schools
Princeton?
may not want people on their premises that,
Oh,
you know, there's a lot with schools that are kind of a barrier in that way, you know.
They don't want strange. people
Well, yeah, right.
Or regular people.
I would
They
think
don't
a
know.
mall.
I contacted, it's
Lancaster?
not Lancaster, but I contacted them too and never heard anything.
Wow, that'd be-
So, you know, I just have so much bandwidth and I have been like trying to contact people, but you know, yeah. And then like, there's been setbacks with these, so I'd like to see these first too. So we have until the end of the fiscal year to kind of place them if we find a place and, yeah, so.
So you need a place that's almost 24/7, that would be comfortable having people come. I mean, that's-
Yeah, right.
David's idea of the mall is a good one, partly because they do have a security system. here.
Mhm.
Having.
We did
patrol.
contact them. That is one place I did contact and didn't get any
But you can get
response.
an answer.
Mhm. Well, you know, people are busy, the people have a lot going on, you
Sure.
know, just like. Yeah, it's just that time of where we're at in the world, right? That,
It's a beautiful new police station, but that might deter some people. Yeah, yeah.
anywho,
Meeting adjourned.
Well, I think, one more thing that Lois said,
Well, I decided to not bring that up, because that's kind of what you're gonna do.
Okay.
With the, okay, no, I don't have any.
I did want to ask Lois one question too, follow up on the letter. We had talked about the follow-up on the letter. You had a letter that you had sent to Chariots, and then we had talked about doing follow-up. And I would be happy to help with that,
Okay,
unless you want to.
Francine's doing that. I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not,
I'll let
I'm
you
out.
assign.
I want to get a copy of your documents.
I will.
Yeah,
I'll
great.
do all that.
And then I'm
Before
available for
the next
Yeah.
city council meeting.